Hello and welcome everybody, it's Karen. I have got a video today that I'm trying to use this Floral Holly Christmas Wreath from Paper Rose Studio in a few different ways. I know it's meant to be a Christmas wreath, but I love wreaths year-round. And so I'm going to try and use this now in a few different ways. So I've got a piece of the Rainbow Twirl 6x6 paper on a 5.5-inch square card base there, and I've cut that wreath about 3 times from white cardstock. Now I've got the Farmhouse Friends embossed die cuts, and I've chosen that little bunny, and I've taken that sentiment from the All Occasions sentiment strips, and this is the quickest and easiest little card to make. I'm actually gluing that wreath down, and I'm popping the little bunny in behind it. So it's a very flat card basically. I did cut 3 of the wreaths and glued them together, and I've popped that sentiment up on foam tape and I've stuck it down, and I'm just adding some little different colored pearls at this point all around that wreath just to add some bling. So a very flat card for mailing and very quick and easy. So there's a close-up of it, and I just thought, it doesn't look like a Christmas wreath. Okay, so here I have chosen a circle die that is roughly the size of the middle of that wreath. There's a little dotted line and I wanted one to be about that size. I have another 5.5-inch square card I'm making here, and I'm just positioning that circle on it so the wreath doesn't go above the top. Now I lost some footage, but that was the second piece of the Rainbow Twirl cardstock that I cut in the same place with that circle die, and I've glued it to the front of my 5.5-inch card. And I'm making a pop-up here. So I have a scrap piece of white cardstock that is 5 inches wide by 2 inches tall. Now it doesn't have to be that tall, and really mine could have been a lot shorter. But I'm scoring every 1 1/4 inches, so 1 1/4, 2 1/2, and 3 3/4 inches. And then I'm folding all those into mountain fold and burnishing, and you end up with this little square, which I'm now going to put right up against that fold line. And I'm going to try and center that in that circle. So it's a bit low there, but I'll move it up. And once I have it where I want, I'm just keeping it pressed up to the fold line, putting glue on that first rectangular section, and I'll butt it right into that fold and fold the top of that card down on it. So you want it to be pressed right into that fold line. Then I'll flip that over and put glue in the other rectangular section next to the fold line. And then I'll just fold the back of the card up and over to pick up that pop-up. So you can see it's right there in the center. So in this one, I've only cut one of the wreath from white cardstock. And I'm just going to glue that. I've only put glue on the center and the outside edges because obviously the inside is hanging out in thin air. So I'm just gluing that in place over my die cut circle opening. And now I've got another little bunny from the Farmhouse Friends, and I've just put glue on the left side of him, and I'm going to attach him to that pop-up. And you can see why that pop-up doesn't need to be quite as tall as I had it, but I wasn't entirely sure what I was going to put on there. I didn't know if I would put some flowers on as well. So just attaching him down to that, and then he just peeks through the opening. Now I've cut some flowers from some of that Rainbow Twirl cardstock. I think that was the Zara flower die that I had used there, and I'm just going around and I added little yellow gems to the centers of those. And that's all I did for this card. Now I haven't put a sentiment on. I thought I might do that when the time came. So it's a bit blank on the inside. Okay, so my next 2 cards are both an easel shaped card. They're an A2 size card. And I'm using the Leafy Garden 3D embossing folder. I've embossed the card front for this card. It's a top folding card, they both are. And so because it's going to be an easel card, I'm going to score this in half at the 2 3/4 inch mark along the front side of my card. So that's the embossed panel side. And I'm just pressing pretty hard because it has to go through both layers there, and just gently folding to start it. And then I burnish it. And I did tear mine a little bit at the top there, as you can see, but it sort of hides in. Now for this card, I am using the Mother's Day Gnomes embossed die cuts, and I've chosen one of the gnomes for this one. I've cut my wreath from the Rainbow Twirl cardstock, as you can see there. And I've backed that twice more with white scrap cardstock just to thicken it, because it's an easel card that will stand up on its own. Now I've got the Austin Circle frame die, and I've just chosen the outer ring, and I've die cut that from some of the rainbow twirl cardstock as well. I'm not sure which piece of pattern paper I had used, but it was one of the ones in this little pack. And I'm just putting some glue on the back of that, and I'm going to add that to my wreath. So it's going to change the look of that wreath quite a bit, actually. But that just made it a bit more fun to switch it up a little. So then that was going to go on my card, but I'm only going to glue the bottom. So I flip it over where I want it to go and just glue the bottom half of this wreath. You definitely don't want to glue any on the top, or your easel shape won't happen. So then I'll flip it back over, and I'm just attaching that down to the bottom, right along the bottom edge there. And because that's embossed, I did stick this up under some acrylic blocks to just let that really set up. Now on my gnome, you can see how that's going to work there. So there's room on the bottom half of that front card panel to attach my gnome. So I've just put foam tape on the bottom of this gnome, and I'm attaching him into that circle. So he does stand up a little bit away from that wreath element. But I thought he was really quite cute in there. And there's the back of it. So you do see the back of that wreath, but I didn't think that mattered. Now I'm using the Thanks border metal die for this one, and I've cut it from that same scrap of rainbow twirl cardstock. As you can see, it's a well-loved scrap of paper, that. And I did cut 2 more from white cardstock. Now you definitely want this is going to be the stopper for the card. So you do want it to be fairly thick to hold that top edge up. And so I've stacked all 3 of those together. And I think I'm just trying to show you here that depending on where you put this, the angle of your easel card will change. So the higher up you put it, the more of a straight up position that gnome is going to be. And if I was to put it down, it's more of a reclined angle. So I sort of went for something in the middle of all that, just away from the bottom a bit, but not all the way up top. And I'm just going to glue that in place there. And I did put a little strip of gold metallic foil just under that. I think it would have been better if I had done a strip of that rainbow cardstock, but there you have it. So that's the finished card there. Quite fun. There's lots of room inside to write your message, but it's kind of fun that that wreath stands up with the gnome in it, I thought. And I did like all that embossing on the texture on the Austin Circle frame with that embossing folder. So off camera, I did make a second one. It's the same easel style card, except with this one, I've used the rainbow twirl pattern paper on the background, and I didn't emboss it. The wreath is cut from white glitter cardstock, or foam cardstock. And on the inside, I've used the same Thanks die, and I just put a little row of those pearls because they were sitting on my desk, and I thought, why not? So that's those 2 cards, both very similar, but a different look. With the gnomes, both the same Mother's Day gnomes on the inside. So one, the wreath is a bit more as a wreath than the other. So I hope that's given you some ideas there, everybody. I do think wreaths can be used year-round, and it's kind of a shame to stick this one away for Christmas only. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I hope you're having a great day. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.